Firstly, one individual themselves, I think, should be honest, truthful, compassionate. Then your whole life dedicate well-being of other. Okay.
Rebecca, das ist ja genau das, was Sie auch antreibt, aktive, strategische Zivilcourage, Menschen mobilisieren. Wie kann man das gerade auch in Zeiten des Internets für Tibet, aber auch für viele andere Regionen, wie kann man das sozusagen noch besser in Gang setzen?
Yeah. I just want also to have a small comment on this last point, because it goes to that heart of that we can, as human beings, and the media tends to want us to have one person who becomes, you know, the power or the symbol and all of that. But we can't build a movement with one. And there are dangers too, because people, I am sure many of us, we demonstrated on behalf of Aung San Suu Kyi when she was in house arrest and all of this. But you know, now she has power. But we have to understand, individuals, we are all human. And, you know, we can be corrupted. And we can be corrupted by power. We can be corrupted by being given higher levels of decision-making. We can be corrupted even by sometimes by tiredness, and sometimes by thinking we achieved what we wanted to achieve, and forgetting that it isn't a change of government at the top, or one treaty or two treaties, or a Nobel Peace Prize. We have to keep building the movements, and we have to keep working to protect everything that we already gained in peace and justice and security and human rights, and make them bigger, because it's never perfect. So a life of non-violence is a philosophy, a practice, a strategy, and a tactic, but it's all of those interconnected. So when we had the idea, and people laughed, and we said, no, actually, we think the time has come to stop messing around with these details, these technical details about numbers of nuclear weapons, because we know that it only takes a very small number of nuclear weapons to cause, you know, mass annihilation, mass suffering of human beings, destruction of the environment, even nuclear winter, and therefore potentially complete destruction of our planet. So we have to get back to basics. Not talk about the numbers, talk about the humans, the humanity. And then when you start doing that, and you look at even one nuclear weapon and you can't survive a kind of corruption or a deflection. So we started to go really back to basics and bring people who knew from Hiroshima and Nagasaki the nuclear testing, bring the experts, scientists, you know, my background's in physics, climate scientists, because there's new stuff. And then we said, and what is the consequence of knowing this? And it is to stigmatize, ban, and eliminate all nuclear weapons. And we recognize that that's actually the order it has to come in. So we began to stigmatize the nuclear weapons, and the nuclear weapons also, the dependencies, the reliance of the NATO countries. Even though so many people know, how could we possibly use nuclear weapons in Europe or South Asia or Middle East or US and Russia even without causing this destruction of our homes and people that we love. And you go from that and you build a movement, and ICAN, 500 civil society organizations in over 100 countries. And you know, when we got this Nobel thing, we actually wanted everyone, you know, all of these, but you can't fit 500 organizations and thousands of civil society onto the platform in Oslo. So we symbolically chose two to be our representatives on that occasion. One, Setsuko Thurlow, Setsuko-san, she was a 13-year-old schoolgirl in Hiroshima, and then the bomb dropped. And the other was an example of our new younger leadership, the women and some of the younger men, but we built a different kind of movement on. And so I always get anxious when I see movements that focus too much on an individual, whether it's Aung San Suu Kyi or even whether it's Your Holiness, because I know that with non-violence, we need to venerate our teachers and learn from them, but we also need to challenge and ask questions, and we need to keep in mind, to get rid of nuclear weapons, we all still have a job to do, and we have to keep doing it in our different countries. To get rid of the oppression of Tibet, we all have a job to do, and the people inside and outside Tibet, we know how much they venerate you, and they will continue to do so, and that is so important, to have that hope. But we also need to know that they will carry on and keep the movement going. And it was so important to me that some of the Nobel Peace Prize winners went to where the Rohingya people were being, were fleeing into the area around Calcutta. And they went there with aid and food and to help what was going on. And they directly, from there, from these refugee camps, they spoke truth to the power that Aung San Suu Kyi now has and said, you have a responsibility as a person as well as a Nobel Peace Laureate to intervene and stop this now.
Wir haben noch knapp
We have
ganz knapp 15 Minuten.
15 minutes to go. So one last question to Holiness the Dalai Lama. I know from the delegation that there were quotes over the last couple of days that were published. Sometimes were not quoted correctly and used for political purposes. So in this context, I would like to clarify before we start our Q&A session. Your Holiness, recently in Sweden, a couple of days ago, in the occasion of a conference, you said, Europe has the moral responsibility to help a refugee whose life is in danger. Take them in, help them, train them, but at the end of the day, they should build and rebuild their own nations. I think Europe belongs to the Europeans. Another quote says, Germany cannot become an Arab country. Germany is Germany.
Now here, broadly speaking, you see, all these people who suffer in their own area and come to seek more sort of, come to escape their danger in their own land. So, as a human being, human brothers, sisters, you should take care of them. But number, you see, already I think over 1 million refugees in Germany. No? I think really under the leadership of Merkel, I think really take care. Number of these people. But then, separate country, so you have your own cultural heritage and way of life. So those refugees come from Arab area, including climate, different climate and way of life and a certain culture. So logically, the different people live their own country, long run, much better. And practical also, if whole Arab world, people in Arab area shifted to Europe, impossible. So therefore, I think right from the beginning, give some kind of sort of encouragement. Eventually, I mean, meantime, they should take their own country seriously. So the European give them shelter and particularly children education. And then some younger generation, certain training, prepare, rebuild their own country. I feel that, for example, we Tibetan refugee in India, I think, good, should think their own country, rebuild. So these countries, including German, should take more sort of effort to bring peace, for example, Syria and these areas. That's my view. Whether practical or not, up to you, I don't know. Eventually, I think after 1 century maybe, then the national boundary no longer much important. Then okay.
Jemand hat mal gesagt, Grenzen sind eh nur
Someone
Illusionen
said,
im
well, a
Kopf und
boundary,
jeder
a
hat das
frontier
Recht,
is an
frei zu
illusion in your head. Everybody can move
Walesa,
freely.
dann müssen wir aber
Lech,
wirklich-
Walesa. And,
Wasza świętobliwość, przykro mi bardzo, ale ja chyba trochę to inaczej widzę.
well, Your Holiness, I have to say, I see things a little bit differently. I excuse myself beforehand before I interfere, but we are friends. So, Your Holiness, my opinion is as follows. God has given us the entire globe, the entire
Na
earth,
państwa,
and development has separated us into states, into
na
continents,
religię, na
in
wojowanie.
religions.
I nasze
were fights.
pokolenie skończyło z tym,
Our generation
widać w Europie.
has completed
Na
it.
horyzoncie
As we see in Europe, they
globalizacji.
stopped it.
A co nam mówi Pan Bóg?
There is the globalization on the horizon, and what is God
Ale
saying?
lekarze dopowiadają,
God says the entire world is
jak
yours.
chcecie zdrowo i długo żyć,
And
to
then we
wam
say,
napiszą
if you want to
drogę,
live
jak
a long and
powinniście
healthy
przejść przez
life,
cały świat.
then
Się okaże, że w
please
Niemczech Więcej jak 5
Ask
lat nie
your
może być,
medical
bo to
doctors
niezdrowe.
how to do it. And then in
Trzeba
Germany,
się
people
przenieść,
say,
tylko lekarze
not
powiedzą,
longer
jak.
than 5 years.
Nie
That's
może
not
tak być, że
healthy.
jeden całe życie się nie może rozebrać, bo zimno,
Continue. Some
a drugi
people
chodzi bez ubrania, bo gorąco.
cannot imagine. They always keep warm and have warm sweaters, and somebody else says it's too warm, I don't need a sweater. So these are the changes and separations. They brought a lot of suffering, a lot of imbalance.
Będziemy się przesuwać
Stop the
zgodnie z
imbalance
wytycznymi
tomorrow.
lekarzami.
The world will
Będziemy
belong
bez
to us.
reumatyzmów żyć, będziemy zdrowo żyć.
We will tell the
Ja dziś
medical
przeklinam
doctors
Fidela
that
Castro
we
i
want to
Kubę,
live in a healthy
bo
way.
mam
We'll listen to them.
reumatyzm.
Let's think of Cuba
A gdybym
and
mógł
Fidel
jechać na
Castro.
Kubę co jakiś czas,
I
to bym
think
wyleczył
I'm really
reumatyzm.
angry. Because I think I'm really angry. I want to cure the Cuban rheumatism, and I couldn't do it. Cuban rheumatism, and so the medical doctors should tell us how to
Daliśmy się
do it.
zaskoczyć emigracji. Nieprzygotowani byliśmy.
There was this immigration. We were surprised. We were not prepared for this immigration. We do not know what will happen if China and India have refugees. If people from China and India, like 1 billion Chinese, want to immigrate to say thank you. And what will you Germans say if they all come? We all have to prepare the world for a development where everybody lives in peace. We want to have a joint, peaceful development. I gave presentations in the United States. I knew that they are scared of globalization, scared of open borders. And there was a presentation, and I said, if I will be president again in Poland at home, I will give every citizen of the world, no matter whether they're from China or wherever, to come to Poland and live there as a legal citizen. The Americans said, my God, what is he telling us? Up on stage, and I continue. I said, my dear audience, but I always give rights and duties. Every person can come and live in Poland, the Chinese or whoever, but you have to understand that you have duties if you want to live in my country. Before, you have to give me $100 million 20 years before so that I prepare their arrival, and then it'll work out nicely. At the moment, I cannot invite all of you because you'll ruin my country, and Germany would be ruined. There are rights and there are duties. Okay.
Ich glaube, an dieser Stelle muss man vielleicht
Well, I
eines
think
verstehen.
at this
Besonders
moment one
die
has to
Tibeter
understand
haben
one thing,
natürlich auch den
especially
großen
people
Wunsch,
from Tibet
wieder
have
zurück in
the
ihre Heimat
wish
zu
to
gehen. Das kennen
return
wir auch von
to
vielen
their
Flüchtlingen,
home.
die auch sagen,
Many
wir wollen
refugees
zurück in
also
den
say
Irak,
we
wir wollen
want to
zurück nach
live
Syrien,
back home
sobald
in
das Land
Syria, in the
befriedet
Iraq.
ist.
As
Aber
soon
es
as
gibt auch
the
die,
country
die seit
is
5, 6,
living
7,
in
8
peace
Jahren
again, we
sind,
want to go
die
home.
sich hier ihre
Some people
Zukunft
stayed here
aufgebaut
7,
haben,
8
die ihre
years.
Kinder
They
hier
built
in
the
die Schule
future. Their
schicken.
children
Und die
attend
sollten
school
natürlich
right
ein
here.
Recht haben, zu
And of course, they
entscheiden,
should
wo
have a
ihre
right to
neue Heimat
decide
in Zukunft
where their
entstehen
new
soll.
home
Wir haben
will
jetzt
be.
genau Zeit für eine
We have time
einzige
for one
Frage.
question from
Sie
our
sehen,
dear
der Druck
audience.
ist irrsinnig
We
hoch.
have
Wer
a
auch
certain
immer sich
time
traut,
pressure,
darf
and there is
sich kurz
pressure.
fassen. Ich
Whoever
ahne, an
dares,
wen die Frage
one
geht. I'm sorry.
short
Der
question.
Zeitplan der Gäste und vor allen Dingen der
So
Zeitplan
our
des Dalai
guests
Lama ist
and also the
extrem
Dalai Lama
eng
have a
getaktet.
tight
Es tut mir
schedule
schrecklich
today.
leid.
Our guests have to
Aber ich
leave.
glaube,
I'm
wir
so
haben ja auch
sorry.
das, jetzt traut sich keiner. Ne?
Nobody dares to ask a
Dann nehme
question.
ich die,
Yes, we have one question from our audience.
ich entscheide
Here's
das
the
nicht.
microphone. Okay. So I won't decide who asked the question. So there's one person from
Eine
the
kurze
audience.
Frage. Wenn
A short
ich sehe, dass Sie
question.
schon Ihr Buch aufklappen, kriege ich schon Herzrasen.
Oh, I can see that you open your book.
Ganz kurz.
No, don't worry, don't be scared. On behalf, we learned a lot about courage and strength from our speakers. You are really the incarnation of those virtues. And a question for the Dalai Lama, His Holiness. What can help us? Any advice that you have for us? What can we do to train this strength? What can we do? How can you help us? Thank you.
Die Frage war an Sie.
As I mentioned earlier, truthful, honest. This is very much related with altruistic attitude. If you take care rest of our human brothers, sisters, then no basis to tell lie, to cheat them, bully them. So you can carry your life honestly. And then truthful. Then also you see you can carry your life transparently. That brings trust from others. So your own selfish viewpoint, that's the best way to take care of yourself. Too much self-centered attitude and fear and distrust. Then actually you yourself then develop some kind of lonely. You cannot trust here, here, here. So self-centered, selfish. I usually describe foolish selfish. Wise selfish is taking care of others' well-being. That's wise selfish. So thinking this line, then you can be more a sensible human being, more compassionate human being. Then the self-confidence come like that. I feel that.
Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren, dann darf ich mich bei Ihnen für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit bedanken, gebe auch ein Stichwort noch dazu, das heißt schlicht Herzensbildung und damit am besten schon mit so anfangen. Dann klappt es vielleicht auch. Vielen Dank an Sie alle auf dem Panel und natürlich auch an eure Heiligkeit, an Lech Walesa, Rebecca Johnson und Claudia Roth.
Thank you very much to all of you.
Vielen Dank.
Well, thank you very, very much.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you.
Sie haben mit so viel Wissen,
You have
mit so
shared
viel
so much
Schwung,
knowledge,
mit so
so
einer
much
Begeisterung
power
uns Mut
and
gemacht,
enthusiasm,
uns
and
Mut
you have
gemacht,
encouraged
sich
us.
zu
You
engagieren,
encouraged us
den Weg
to
der
show commitment,
Gewaltlosigkeit zu gehen,
to follow
den
the
Weg,
way
sich einzusetzen
of
für Frieden,
non-violence,
für die
for peace,
Menschenrechte
human
und vor
rights,
allem, dass wir uns gemeinsam weiterhin stark
that we
einsetzen
go
für
together,
Tibet.
work
Vielen,
together
vielen
strongly for
herzlichen Dank.
Tibet in the future. Thank you very much.